I'm the dude that's killing me. Really, we need to get something going on it. We need to get I think we approved the traffic signal, did we not?
We were waiting on the NEPA, that's really what we were waiting to see what that was going to cost so we could get that approved. But you've not received that yet. No, so we really don't have anything for you.
So we don't have anything. Can we wait and back it up until we have that NEPA? Or do y'all want to go ahead?
When are we looking at a budget meeting? We could call a special call.
We need to have well, this week was tough for everybody to get together. I'd like to go maybe next Tuesday, if that's okay with the council, to get started on budget.
Thursday would be better for me.
Okay. Thursday be fine with me.
Maybe we can call the meeting then if they get that.
Or you could probably come up with an action ending that.
Yeah.
Well, and part of it is if we're going to do it in the house, where you want to start in house. You know, there's some arguments for doing it when we do the street light, the traffic light, and the corners that are going to be done there, and tie that project together. But there's also other arguments of starting closer to the center of town, around 4th and 5th, where the government buildings are, and there wouldn't be so much disruption to business activities while we got the project rolling. And then there's, of course, the other option of contracting it out. And then there's the other issue, do we want to replace the streetlights? I'm an advocate for replacing the streetlights, get the LEDs in there, and save us, and give us a return on the investment in the long run. If nothing else on that. And then we just have to address how we're going to deal with the conduit. As you know, when we did the water project, they found some of those lines out in the middle of 127. So it's going to be a challenging project, however it's done.
Do you know what we're paying VEC on those 30-something lights?
I do.
Presently.
I do. I've got to do something.
And they maintain them, correct?
Correct. Well, I believe so. Did they maintain it then?
Yeah.
The cost is $434 plus a $317 kilowatt charge. Well, it's a net cost of $751 per light. Net annual cost, that's annually, a net annual cost of over $9,000. The LED would cut you down to a cost of $184 a year per light. But then, of course, you have to pay your return on investment on the light.
Maintain.
Well, maintenance with LEDs is a 30-year situation, so it might last a long time. Versus where you have the other bulbs. That's one of the benefits of an LED is you don't have to change it.
Are you suggesting to use those poles or replace poles and LEDs?
Replace poles and LEDs. That's one shoot back. And then you would also get rid of those pedestals that are an impediment. I'm sure your visually impaired guy could probably speak to the big posts sticking out there. That would cut down on some of the obstructions in the walkway. Because instead of having a concrete pole up there that's what, about 18 by 18, you're going to have just the base of the pole. But we can delve into that a little deeper when we get some of the other information.
What kind of a price are you do you have as far as those 34 replacements, Mr. Wood?
$78,000, and that's for 40 replacements.
78,000
Correct.
installed.
I would think that. Mr. Engineer, help me out here. That didn't work out.
Materials only.
Materials only?
That doesn't include any conduit.
No conduit and no installation.
I believe that's correct.
That include poles too.
That doesn't include the poles.
So basically that's the poles and the lights.
Yes, and the poles that we have there today, we maintain everything underground. DEC doesn't maintain any of the production of the lights.
They do above ground.
Pardon?
They do above ground. VEC.
No, they do help us maintain some of our lights, like the lights on 127 North, our bucket truck, the light fixtures, itself, but everything underground, we maintain that. We don't touch anything underground.
I liked your idea about traffic signalization, and then at the same time do that block that's about 18 inches below grade level and bring it up. You got an empty lot there that they can work off of, which shouldn't be a big problem.
I'd like to get something started, get some progress, get some motivation going, get people excited about it in a positive fashion.
Okay, if we start on that traffic signal with our STP funds, and then we work on that block that Councilmember White just mentioned, are there any light poles or issues that would be inside that block that Councilman White's talking about?
There's a couple lights we would need to change out, and I assume we can do those piecemeal.
Yeah, I think we can manage what lots are in that area. We're going to be cutting across the road 4 times, and we could also go ahead and install extra conduit in those cuts, even if we don't work on the street lights themselves.
But if you're working on those sections, and those sections of the sidewalk, is that,
Yeah, I'd have to go back.
Is that the intention? I mean, why work on sections of sidewalks if you end up putting new light poles in where you're gonna have to, you can go back?
You have to do something.
Yeah, we have to do.
You can
either-
put new light poles there, but it's not gonna match any of the rest of the light
Yeah,
poles
right, we
downtown.
don't need a
You
mismatch.
put the old
So
ones
they
there.
take the bases out and put 40 poles in.
Did you have 40 poles on this original deal that we approved a year ago?
I think there was 38. And I'm only speaking from memory. It could be 40. So there was 30 existing poles, and if I remember correctly, we were going back with 38 LED poles. And I'm not up to par on the exact location of those lights. I've been looking more at the sidewalk and other things.
But you see what I'm saying? We wouldn't want to put 2 new poles there and then they not match everything else, but then you don't want to go working on the sidewalks around old existing poles that you're going to have to end up cutting in the sidewalks again.
Yeah, we can actually just discuss the lighting later. By using the STP funds, that process has changed for us. Before we could bid, we get approval from the state, we could bid out a project, and we could pretty much move forward as we like. It's not that way now. We have to go through local programs, and we even have to follow federal and state wage rates, just like with this NEPA. And I'm going through and rereading the local programs manual to make sure that we don't have any unknowns that come back up later. So, you know, if we have a special call meeting and you approve the engineer to move forward with his contract, I want to have everything in his contract at that point in time, which would be the NEPA. It would be checking on the contractor, making sure that he's paying the correct wages, and anything else like that. Along with that, if we have actual sidewalk in that portion, which I don't think we're going to, I think we're going to do that part in-house. But any of the concrete, we have to have testing performed on that, and part of that money comes out of our own pocket. It's not coming out of the contractor's pocket or the engineer's pocket. So there's other additional costs that I'm trying to make sure that we have. So we're not going to start on the traffic signal in the next 2-3 weeks. So we've got time to talk about the street lights a little more. We've got time to see if we could actually do 2 or 3 in that general area, as well as put in the conduit. If we're going to replace the sidewalk, we're going to go ahead and add an additional conduit under that sidewalk so we don't have to tear it back out.
Okay.
What's requiring all this extra stuff you're talking about?
It could have been required in the past. They've just maybe been a little bit lenient with us.
We've got TDOT here, we can put them on the spot.
Oh, they left.
But local programs is handling that money now, and we will have to follow the guidelines. I was completely unaware.
It's totally changed. We used to just send a letter and say, this is what we want to use the money for, and they'd say, okay. And then we'd send in the bills and they pay them. But it's about an $1.5 grant application that I have to send in now for how we want it allocated. And then it,
More time and money.
yes.
So it gets more expensive every time you.
Tim can install those poles and lights
He's way different than me.
that the city doing it now.
The light poles,
You're
Street
using
lights.
shorter poles, right?
no, they're about the same height. I don't think we would have any issues with installing those.
So where you take a base up, you'd have to pour new footing under it to set that pole up.
Well, the LED lightings they have a different light pattern. So, like I mentioned earlier,
Put them closer together.
we're replacing 30 lights, and I think with 38, so we're not gonna be right back in the same location. So, yeah, I think we can install them in the locations they need to go, but I wouldn't assume that any of the lights are going in the exact location that they are today.
Mr. Mayor, I think we need to go ahead and start the sidewalk program at Lantana Road and Main Street immediately. And that if we can put conduit in the sidewalk where necessary, and proceed with the sidewalk project.
I agree with that, because this has been slow walked till, everybody's about wore out with it. And we need to get something done.
Fred, how much is in the budget this year?
For the sidewalk project, we gave highways and streets $270,000 to start it, plus equipment, things like that, a new man, another man or two. So that's about $500,000 or $600,000 that we gave highways and streets this year for that project.
Kevin ain't spent none of that, has he? Good.
No, he's afraid to. Nobody's told him what to do yet.
Might make your mind up. So the motion is to get started on the corner of Lantana and Main to fix that traffic light. How far down Main does that motion cover? Does that cover down to the corner of the barber shop there next to it, or does it stop at the? Probably need a little more definite direction.
Well, what's the road by the barber shop called?
Stanley Street.
Let's go from there to Stanley Street.
But I suppose you got on that section. Two?
I'll have to get back with you. Like I
That's all right.
said,
I can look at it later.
yeah, I've not studied the lighting, I've been looking at the sidewalk.
All right. We have a motion to do a block of, fix some lights and do a block of sidewalk. Do I hear a second in reference to that?
No, I didn't say lights. I said sidewalks,
Okay.
and put
Sidewalks.
conduit in the sidewalk. He said we've got plenty of time to talk about lights.
Okay. So just
Do the
fix the
sidewalk.
sidewalk. I mean the traffic light. You're fixing, you're raising the post for the traffic light up on the corner, right?
Yes. The new signal will be a mast arm pole. It won't be cable mount. And it's not really a decorative pole, but it will be black. It's not what we had in the first downtown plan. It's similar.
That's long gone.
Long gone.
Long gone.
Is your permit coverage on this, starting that section?
Yes.
That's the NEPA.
NEPA's on.
This motion is pending on NEPA, correct?
The NEPA's only for the traffic signal, required for the traffic signal. It's not required for any of the sidewalk.
So this motion is just for sidewalks, not for traffic signal. Okay, do I hear a second on the sidewalk motion?
That's both sides of the road?
No, that's just on that's just on the barber shop side.
Where it's below grade.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second, roll call vote, please.
Can we have that discussion.
Yes, you can have discussion, excuse me.
Just a question for you and I guess Mr. Music also. Do you all recommend that this is the route to go? Because I don't know, I'm not hearing the recommendation as far as if y'all feel this is the direction we go as far as the city doing this, or should we be looking to have this bid out for a firm to do that?
My recommendation and motion does not require it being bid out. We have the crew, we have the equipment, we're ready to go.
Right, no, I understand that. But my question is, for the people that are working with this, as far as the engineer and Kevin in the department, do you all feel comfortable with this? That's what I need to know, because you're all the ones that are actually going to make this happen.
I feel like we need to be prepared to take care of all four corners of that intersection after the traffic signal is installed, and make sure that all four of those corners are ADA compliant.
So you're talking about both sides of the road?
I'm just strictly speaking of the corners.
Corners on
Yeah.
both sides of
The direction that we have received from council in the past was that we were gonna only repair 30% of the sidewalk. And in my mind, that includes every corner on Main Street. There's some places in between that would, in the middle of the blocks or on, that there's other places in the blocks that need repaired. And I know that we're already approved to take care of those four corners. When the traffic signal is installed, what's there today will be damaged, and it would probably make the corners impassable. So I would really like to see our crews start on those corners as soon as the traffic signal company left town.
Talking about what the water tank is.
Yes, all four corners of that intersection. That's the areas that I feel like, and that's the timing that I think that we need to step in and start working on the sidewalk.
I agree, and that's what I heard city manager say in the work session last week, that he'd like to get started on the traffic signal in that first block there. And we'll be right there close. When they leave town, they get on those four corners.
Well, do we need to move the sidewalk program to Neacham Street and come up the other way if you're going to wait and let the traffic light be brought in? And do the repairs? By the way, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to withdraw my motion.
You're catching me off guard with your question.
We're
I'm not really
being
prepared.
asked for recommendations. Okay, we're being asked for recommendations. Our city manager wants some guidance from the city council, and we're asking for recommendations from the engineering department. And we're going to go with the four corners up there around the traffic light after it's installed. I understand now. So I guess what we need to understand now is, do we start at Neacham Street?
Mr. City Manager, you had recommended in your conversation this evening the area or the block around the government buildings.
Yes, ma'am.
So that was your recommendation if we were going to start working on some repairs to sections of the sidewalks. That we,
Just
if we're not going to
sidewalks,
do the, if we're going to wait on the traffic signal before we do that, that we go up and work. What streets does that cover?
That would cover 4th Street and the corner of 4th and Main at the Veterans Park, and we would move south from that point.
I believe that sounds like an option to me. Let's, for consideration.
I'm in, let's just start somewhere.
Yeah, I just want to.
Let me enlighten you just a little bit.
Enlighten us, sir.
If you even start the project right now, we just started phase 2. You just passed that we started phase 2 in the park.
Centennial.
So, yeah, so I have got started there. So I've got a section I've got to finish there before we ever even get started up there. So you've got the time to get started with the red light stuff. Because of where we're started, the park out there on phase 2.
You don't want to pull off the park till you're
Well,
done.
it's kind of a mess out there right now. It'd be bad to pull off out there right now.
How long is it gonna be, Mr. Music?
Well, it just depends on how far you want me to go into phase 2. I can find a stopping spot and work a couple of weeks and find a stopping spot and move, but you gotta realize that you just gave me permission to start phase 2, so that's where we're at over there. So we can't just pull off over there with the help we've got. I'm still lacking 2 temporary positions that I wish you'd change and give me 2 full-time positions if we're gonna go at this like this. Without your lights and stuff up there you're working on, we're gonna be backtracking constantly.
So you heard the full-time that you're lacking 2.
Well, they say I have. I had 13 employees 3 or 4 years ago, and I've got 13 now.
You didn't hire one, did you?
So that's where I'm at there through the last year with hiring help. It was put off and put off. So I have 13 employees now. We did hire a guy, but I have 13 employees, but we had 13 3 years ago. So
would it pick you up if you had 2 more?
if we could move these 2 temporary positions we put out last week, we're having trouble getting temporary positions filled anyway. So if we could bump them up to 2 full-time positions, by the time we've got ready to start up there, I could be closed up, stopping spot over there.
What are you looking at, huh?
Probably find a stop spot, get up to the church there, find a stopping spot, get all our dirt work and everything. Well, we ain't got no dirt work show or nothing else.
Well, we gotta give him the help if he's gonna go up here and tackle this thing and do 30–40% of the sidewalks and the radiuses and stuff. We gotta give him the help. Don't you agree, Tim?
We probably have.
And I would like you to add the lights to this, because you're gonna be backtracking the whole time. If you don't go ahead and add the lights now, even if we put conduit, we're gonna have to back up when we have to go replace that light. We're gonna have to back up, we're gonna tear out new concrete that we've had to.
What if we got a good section?
Yeah.
Let's say there's a good section and a light pole goes there.
Right.
What are you gonna do, dig down and find the conduit?
Well, we have to, but the temporary, that's the thing of doing it, the patchwork, cause when you patch it, you patch that section. But say next year your light goes out, and you gotta come back and put that light in, you're gonna have to dig that conduit all right back out and tear up that concrete you just poured. I would rather see you go up there and do a section at a time, go block at a time and do it all right, come on down through there if it took 2 years to do it.
Yeah. What
You're
we
not
gonna
gonna
do
be a backtrack.
What we gonna do about our asphalt?
Just put it off another year or 2. It's pretty rough.
Let them pave Main Street.
Absolutely.
We'll saw our
There you
marks.
go.
We'll saw our
Absolutely.
marks and match it up.
Absolutely. Let's just go ahead and call TDOT and say, come down here and pave this thing.
Yeah.
And then we can take our paving projects on the streets and tie into it. I'm getting an awful lot of phone calls, guys.
I'm gonna go, I've done ride-alongs with almost all the departments, and I'm gonna go visit Kevin Thursday morning, and we'll ride out some of these things and talk some things over, and I'll get a little more educated on it. And we'll have some stronger recommendations for you, I think.
I'm not sure that if we let TDOT pave at this point in time, that we can get the water around some of the corners, because I would have some issues. Part of the ADA compliance that we have in the plan now, we do have to install a little bump out onto the side streets in order to give the proper slope. And we have no storm drainage on Main Street. Everything follows the curb and gutter. And if TDOT goes ahead and paves without milling and without us having the corners completed, I'm not sure that we can get the water around the corners without having bird back on Main Street.
So TDOT's not planning on milling?
They are planning on milling at this point in time. But if the sidewalk and curb and gutter is there, they will have to match up with it when they pave. So if we're an inch and a half high now, they won't have to mill anything. If we're an inch and a half low, they're gonna have to remove 3 inches out of asphalt. And the plans, the current plans that we have do show some milling around the bump outs on the side street.
But if you called them today, told them, come on, how long will it be next summer?
I can't answer that. It's possible that they could get to it next year.
Next year.
Yes, this time next
Kevin
year.
will have a good start before next
It
year.
is possible that it will be this time next year.
I've got more confidence than I do too.
Yeah.
I say tell T-Dot to come on, and if it takes them as long to get here as it usually does everywhere else they go, we've got some time. And if something happens, we can go back and change our.
Mayor,
Yeah.
should we, it sounds more like a work session.
Yeah.
Motion's been pulled and it, we have, talking about a budget session coming up. We want to include this during the same night as the budget talks, as a work session.
I believe we need to give city manager some guidance so he can be planning.
Well, a week's not gonna, one way or another, kill us on it. Give him a little time.
Okay, we'll schedule the work session then.
Well, let me ask this real quick. What prevents us still from going ahead and approving the use of the STD funds for the traffic signal replacement?
That's already been approved. It's the NEPA that we're waiting on.
Okay.
Contract company.
Okay, I misunderstood, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Jim. Anything else?